guys? So I'm here with Louie. Now, Louie's a dog that comes to us with some aggression. He's a really cool dog. He's a really smart dog. He's done a lot of training. As I put the leash on him and get him working around, what I'm finding out is that there's no engagement with him. And so that can be for a variety of reasons. It can be that he's uncomfortable with me. It can mean that he just wasn't taught it. It can mean genetically he's not.
So when you say engagement, you're talking about him wanting to work with you, right?
Yeah, I'm looking for a dog to connect with me. So like if I bring him over here, like I'm not seeing, that was actually pretty good, but in general, like he's like this with me, like I see you there, I know you're there, I know you're telling me stuff, but I just don't want to have a lot to do with you. So what I want to show you is where I'm going with this, where I'm taking it to make it a little more usable. So right now he's not very interested in food, so I want to have another way to bring him along. Now, how I'm going to do that is by requiring eye contact from him before I release. So I'm going to put him in a sit, and then before I release, I'm going to require him to look at me. So he's about to sit. Sit. Good boy. Now, and that was pretty good. Like because of the training he's been through, he knew that he did a good thing. When I said good boy, he licked my hand. So we had a little bit of interaction there, which is a positive thing. But now, as he feels me looking at him, he's less likely to look up with me. And so, as I was speaking, he actually connected with me once, but I want to recreate that. So I'm going to vary the amount of presence that I show him. So if I'm standing square with him like this, it's going to be a little bit of pressure, and you might be able to see it in how high his head is and some other signs. Then when I turn away, you're going to probably see him perk up and look a little more confident. So if the dog is struggling with confidence, which we see signs that he is, I'm going to put on a little pressure and then take off. Come on, sit. Good boy.
Yeah, so there he did it again. As you said good, I'm just going to shift so I'm not getting too much light. As you said good, yeah, he looked up at you. It was just a brief second, but what you're looking to do is build on that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that gives us a point. It gives us something to build on. It helps him know that he can please me, because he needs to get out and feel like he can win, because that's the whole thing to building confidence. So what I'm doing right now is just kind of putting pressure on, taking it off.
Because you can see that, like, basically the whole time, this video has been going 3 minutes, the whole time he's been looking out here, and there's nothing really out here. I mean, there's a parking lot, and so, people pass by at certain times, but it's not that he's looking out there, it's that he's looking away from Joe. And so if we're going to look to, and he's looking away from Joe from, like you'd mentioned, a little bit of insecurity, a little bit of avoidance behavior. He's just not quite sure how to interact with somebody new just yet. And like I say, he's done a lot of training previously coming here, but most of it was food-based, which is why, right now we're not using food. We're trying to help him understand, listen, we want you to engage with us, not necessarily with the hot dog, but with us. And so like I say, if we're going to get him over aggression, the first thing we need to do is build engagement so that he recognizes that we need to be the center of the universe. Because right now when he sees dogs, that's the center of the universe, and I got to go get him,
Exactly.
And so Joe needs to be the center. I need to be the center. His owners will soon need to be the center of his universe.
Yeah. Now, so when it does happen, because he has a strong sit already, he knows he needs to stay right here, and he's trying to figure out how to get out of it. And so he's broken a couple times, and I put him back in this sit. Now, pretty soon he's going to look at me. When he does it, I'm going to capture that. Oops, sit. Good boy. Now that's not a lot of pressure, just a couple ounces upward on the leash. We want him thinking, how do I get out of this sit? How do I get a win here? So when he does get it to me, I'm not going to go right back into a command. When he gives me eye contact focus, I'm going to release him right there and give him a couple minutes of just being a dog and hanging out in the room with us. So watch for that.
So yeah, you keep watching him. I'll talk a little bit, because a lot of folks will say, why don't you just take a treat and teach him how to focus? And generally we don't really ever do that, because what we want is we want this innate, we want to build in this innate desire for the dog to want to pay attention, because of bond, because of relationship, not because I'm holding a treat. Because anyone, you know, if a dog's hungry, anyone can create the behavior of looking at the owner. That's not hard to do. You can put a little piece of hot dog next to your mouth. The dog's gonna look to your mouth. You throw the hot dog to them or whatever. Anyone can create that behavior, but there's a difference between creating behavior and getting engagement. You know, there's a difference between creating behavior and becoming the center of that dog's universe. And so, like Joe mentioned earlier, here we go. Good. As Joe mentioned earlier, there's certain degrees of pressure that the dog feels, and there he allowed a little bit of pressure. Oops. Dog's pushed open the door, strong dog. And there he allowed a little bit of pressure, or took a little bit of pressure off by moving away, and the dog found himself able to. Should we try to run that again? Actually, where you have him sit and and step away from him, because he felt like, okay, if Joe's standing right next to me, that's too much pressure. I can't engage with him.
I dropped the leash too, and that added a little bit of comfort for him. So me holding the leash is causing him to feel more pressure.
Yeah, and so this, I'm realizing as we're talking about this is pretty deep theory and pretty deep understanding. And I don't think the average dog owner needs to understand this, but I think it's helpful because most average dog owners are struggling. Good. You know, they're struggling with engagement. It might be on a walk, it might be because their dog has aggression, it might be for a variety of reasons. The door's kind of wedged open and he pushed it forward before.
We lost it.
Lou, you made us look foolish for a second. Good boy. But yeah, so like I say, most owners, I mean, it's incredibly rare. Joe, have you ever seen an owner come in with a dog and like, the dog is like, yep, I'm ready to listen to you, I'm ready to pay attention.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty darn rare. And even though, you know, a lot of our clients have done a lot of treat training before, the treats don't get the engagement. Now, we might use food, you know, for certain things and whatnot, but we don't want it to teach, you know, it's more of a reinforcer, you know, of like, hey, I really like what you did. And it's a little bit less of like, if you look at me, hot dogs will fall out of my mouth and you'll get to eat them.
Exactly. And something about the way we're presenting it. So what I want to do is I want to give him the opportunity to offer up eye contact. And when he does it, I want to capitalize on it by rewarding it. And if he offers up the behavior on his own, he's more likely to repeat that behavior in the future than he would be if I asked him to do it. So if I like get a look command or something like that, I'm gonna always have to ask for that look command. But if I wait for the behavior to happen, mark it as a positive, it's gonna repeat more often.
Yes, let's see if we can get one, and I'll shut off the recording at this point, but let's see if we can get one more. Right now, we have to take the pressure off a decent amount in order to get that engagement.
Okay.
Good. But you know, the way that'll look is, you know, we'll be a little bit closer, a little bit more pressure, because we want him to be able to work through pressure, because right now he feels so much pressure from these other dogs, and this is where the aggression comes from. And so we want him to understand how to work through that pressure, that when you feel pressure, pay attention to that guy. When you feel pressure, pay attention to that guy, and everything works out just fine. And later, when you feel pressure, pay attention to the owner. Everything's gonna work out just fine. You don't have to be the one solving these problems. In fact, you're not terribly capable of solving the problems. You're just a German Shepherd that hasn't thought this through very well, huh, buddy? Hi, big guy. And so, anyways, any parting thoughts, Joe?
You know, just this is where we want to start with all the dogs, is just getting them to where they're comfortable with us and that they can learn how to win with us.
Cool.